We watched Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Ha ha! Let's get into it. This might not be the type of movie you're used to seeing us talk about on this channel, but it's our 50th episode. So to celebrate, we wanted to tackle one of the big movies. Yeah, it was almost Titanic. You promised me Titanic. We'll watch Titanic in future, I promise. Sounds good? Well, it is. You don't sound convinced? Let's just speak about Psycho today. So Psycho is from 1960, it lasts 1 hour 45 minutes, and it's in black and white. That was a surprise. Or did you not know? No? Okay, well yes, it's a black and white movie, but it looks fantastic. It sure does.
It's beautiful.
The movie stars Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. It also stars Janet Leigh as Marion Crane, and others. We open up Friday, December 11th, 2:43 PM. Yeah, and there's a couple of people in a hotel room. Marion Crane and her boyfriend, Sam Loomis. They're having a secret liaison during Marion's lunch break. Yeah, naughty.
Naughty.
I don't know why though, they're both single. They are both single, but I guess at the time it was frowned upon to be running around having fun when you're unmarried.
It's indecent.
What a time to be alive. On the other side of that, you could buy a house for about £12. So Marion says she's tired of sneaking around. She says she loves Sam. She wants to run away with him. She wants to get married to him, but he has an ex-wife. Yeah, and he has to take alimony, and because of that, he's skint.
I'm broke.
By the sounds of it, neither of them have very much money. They both work. Yeah, but the cost of living in the city is just a little bit too much. Yeah. Marion goes back to work. She works as a real estate agent. Yeah. And her and the other secretary just doesn't start talking, by the way. She likes a little chat. Anyway, she says the boss will be back soon, and the boss does come back soon. Yeah, and because this investor has just bought like a massive piece of land or a massive house for his daughter. Yeah, that's right. It's his daughter's wedding coming up. So he's bought her a house. How nice. Tom, this guy who's just bought a new house, is very excited. He's brought the money along in cash. It's like $40,000. Yeah. And he's just got it in his little bag. He hands over to the boss of the company, who then hands it to Marion and says, I don't like this amount of cash lying around the office. Take it to the bank and deposit it. And then Tom says, I heard you've got a bottle of scotch in your office desk. Let's go celebrate. And he says, I'm dying of thirsteroonie. Thirsteroonie. Not something I expected to hear in the movie from 1960. So Marion picks up the cash. She says to her boss, listen, I've got a bit of a headache. Do you mind if I just go straight home after going to the bank? And he says, yeah, that's fine.
What a cool ass boss.
And then it cuts to Marion in her bedroom, and she has a suitcase packed, and in the suitcase she has clothes. Yeah, but what else? Oh yeah, the money. Yeah, $40,000. And she is leaving town.
See ya.
So she takes her suitcase, gets in her car, and drives off. A few hours later, a policeman finds her on the side of the road in the car, sound asleep, and he wakes her up. Yeah, and she starts acting all shifty. Instead of saying, okay, well, I'll be on my way, sorry, she's like, oh, ooh. After a quick check of her licence and registration, the cop is pretty happy to let her go. Yeah, and she drives straight to a car dealership. And the cop follows her. Yeah, so he's not as happy as it would seem. No. But she goes in and talks to the guy, the car dealer, in the car dealership. And she says, listen, I want to trade in a car. There's nothing wrong with it. It's in good shape. I just fancy a change. And the salesman's like, oh, okay, it'll be $700 plus your car. And she says, okay, fine. And the policeman stands and watches all this. He sees her hand over $700 in cash. He sees her drive away in a new car, acting all shady and suspicious. And he does nothing. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously got a hunch that something's not quite right, but he doesn't follow up on it. Nope, and they never see him again. Now, while Marion's driving, she's hearing all these voices, imagining what people back home will be saying, and there's really cool music. It is cool music. That's a big thing about this movie. The music is great. So Marion's driving along with her $40,000. 9 is 700. Yeah, I suppose. She's got the best part of $40,000. Well, in today's nanny, that'd be a lot more. That's true. 1960, $40,000. How much would that be today, I wonder? $1 billion. As night falls, so does the rain. A torrential storm forces Marion to pull over for the night, but she stumbles upon a small motel. Yeah, Dates Motel. And she needs Norman dates. So it's a motel, but there's a big house overlooking it where obviously the owners of the motel would live. And a young man comes rushing down from the house, and his name's Norman Bates, and he checks her in, he speaks to her, welcomes her, and he says, this used to be a very busy motel because the highway used to pass right by here. Then there were changes in the lay of the land, and we lost a lot of business. That's why it's so quiet. Yeah. Not because you're a creepy weirdo, Norman. No. Did you see? She had to beat the horn to get Norman to come down to the house. Well, that's right, because there was no one in the hotel. So she went back in her car and tooted her horn really loudly. Rude. Well, she needed to get his attention. She could have walked up to the door. I know, but it was pouring with rain. Still. So anyway, Norman checks her into room 1, which is right next to the reception office. Yep. He realises she's hungry. And he says, listen, come up to the house and I'll make you some food. So she says, thank you very much. She goes to get changed and wash up. And she's about to head up the house, and then Norman appears with a tray of food. He says, listen, Mother is not feeling so good, so I thought we could eat here. Yeah, we found out in the house it's just Norman and his mother, because his father died years ago, and it's just been the two of them for most of his life. And you see her? Yeah, you see her silhouette sitting at the window of the house. So Marion and Norman have supper in the office, which is behind the reception desk. Yeah, and it's filled with like dead birds. Yeah, Norman's hobby is taxidermy. What? Taxidermy. What? When you take a dead animal and you stuff it and have it on display, looking the way it did in life.
Why did I ask?
Well, look, different people have got different hobbies, that's all. Weird. Never mind. During supper, Norman talks about his mother and says she's not well. And then Marion says, oh, does she need a doctor? And Norman says, no, she's not well. Yeah, in the head he means. Marion suggests taking her to a care home or something like that. And Norman says, I'm not putting my mother in a nut house. Those places are horrible. Good night. They say good night. Marion goes back to her room, and Norman's about to go back to his room. But he moves one of his photos of a dead bird, probably. I don't know what's in the picture. But he moves a photo frame, and behind it, there's a hole. Yeah, and he watches her get undressed.
Naughty boy.
Absolute creep. This is how you're going out of business, Nate. Not because of the highway news. Norman instantly feels guilty about what he's doing, though, it seems, because he quickly looks away and runs off back up to the house. Yeah, and then they see Marion, and she's gone for a shower. And she's having a great time. She's all smiles and feeling relaxed for the first time in a couple of days. And then we see a figure appear behind the shower curtain. The shower curtain is pulled back, and sure enough, there's a woman there with a knife, and she stabs Marion. Yeah. Marion, our main character up until this point, our protagonist, is dead. Imagine seeing this in 1960. Yeah, it would have been a bit of a shock, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's not long before Norman comes running down from the house. He sees what's happened and he starts going, Mother, 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 no! That's a terrible impression. Right.
Mother! Oh God, Mother!
And he starts to clean up the mess. He basically covers up his mother's crime. Yeah, he takes Marion's body and puts it in the trunk of their car, and he takes all her luggage, including the money, which he doesn't know is there, and puts it all into the swamp.
This is my swamp!
Yeah, he sinks the whole lot. The car takes a little while to sink. Yeah, you can see Norman's a little bit worried. But then it does sink, and he's like, whew. We go back to the city and we see Sam at his work in a little, looks like a hardware store. Yeah, and this lady comes in and she introduces herself as Lila, and Lila is Marion's sister. And she's looking for Marion, and she says, listen, Sam, where's my sister? She stole $30,000. Are you and her planning to run away together? Yeah, and Sam's clueless. He's like, what? I had no idea. Which is true, yeah. And then this other guy comes in and just joins in the chat. And he says, I am a private investigator. I've been hired to track down Marion. My name is Arbogast. Yeah, Arbogast. Arbogast says he definitely will find Marion, and then there's a little montage of him checking every B&B, hotel and motel in America, I think. I don't know how he knows which direction Marion headed in. I don't know how he knows what area to search, but eventually he stumbles upon Bates Motel and he meets Norman Bates. Yeah. And Norman says, oh yeah, she was here. She checked in under a fake name, it looks like, and then she left after one night.
You're a big fibber.
And Arbogast is like, well, thanks for your help. I hope you're not covering up for her. You wouldn't be played for a mug by a woman, would you? And all this stuff. Chill out, Arbogast. Arbogast also says, listen, can I speak to your mother? Maybe she spoke to Marion. Maybe she knows something that you didn't realise. Yeah, Norman's like, no, you can't speak to her. I think it's time for you to leave. So Arbogast goes straight to a phone box and phones Sam back at the store and says, she was here, but she's not here anymore, but I think there's something else this Norman Bates fellow is hiding. Yeah.
If only you knew.
So he goes straight back to the motel. Yeah, he's just left. Yeah, I know, but he goes straight back and he goes straight up to the house and just lets himself in. What are you doing? He hears something at the top of the stairs, so he climbs up and up and up the stairs. And then Norman's mother comes out and stabs him and he falls down the stairs. Dead. Yeah. Bit of a shock. Yeah, that. And he was an intruder as far as she knew. That's true, he did just walk into someone's house and go snooping around. She might have felt threatened. Maybe stabbing him was a bit harsh. Yeah. This is the only scene I don't think is aged that well. What do you mean? When Arbogast falls down the stairs. Do you not think it looks good? Not really, it looks like he's floating. I suppose, I mean, I think it's filmed that way so you can see the expression and the fear and the terror and the shock on his face. Yeah, but he still floats. Not really. So Sam and Lila were expecting to hear from Arbogast within the next hour. It's been 3 hours. Lila says she's going to go to the motel on her own. And Sam says, no, don't bother. Don't be silly. Arbogast has got it all in hand. But Lila says, it's been 3 hours. We haven't heard from him. So I'm going to go and check it out. And then Sam says, you'll never find the motel on your own. So he goes, yeah, because if she can't find it, he can, because he's a man. Does he have GPS built into his skull? I don't know what that means, you'll never find it, but I'll find it. I don't know, is that just 60s chauvinistic arrogance? But Sam does go to the motel, and he has a look around. There's no one around. He can't find any evidence of foul play or any evidence of Marion having been there, Arbogast having been there, and he doesn't meet Norman because Norman's busy dumping Arbogast's body and car in the swamp. Yet, it's his holiday. Sam and Lila decide to go to the little town nearest Bates Motel and go and see the local sheriff. Yeah, it's the middle of the night and they go to this guy's house and just wake up, him and his wife in their pajamas. Anyway, they tell the sheriff and his wife what's happened. They say Marion's gone missing. Arbogast went out, he spoke to them. He tried to speak to the mother who he saw sitting in the window, blah, blah, blah. And the sheriff reveals Norman's mother is dead. She's been dead for years. Yeah, because she had a secret lover and she killed him and killed herself with poison. So now it's just Norman on his own. So who's the old woman they saw? Who indeed? Who's the old woman who killed Marion Crane and private investigator Arbogast? We're inside Bates' house now and we hear Norman and his mother speaking. They're arguing. Norman says, I'm going to move you away from the window. Too many people are asking questions. So we see from a bird's eye view, he carries her across the landing and down the stairs. She's protesting that obviously she's too weak and too old and too infirm to do anything. The next morning, Sam and Lila wait outside the church for the sheriff and his wife to finish. They come out and they have a little discussion and no clues. Anyway, Sam decides, Lila, you and I'll go back to Bates Motel and see what we can find. Let's speak to this Norman. So they devise a plan. Sam and Lila decide we'll pretend we're a couple on a business trip and we need to be checked into this motel on our way. So they check into Bates Motel. Norman gives them room number 8. Yeah, as far away from the office as possible. That they go and check in, and then instantly go sneaking into room 1. Yeah, I mean, it's the middle of the day. They can't find anything, so they go to reception, and Sam speaks to Norman, distracts him for a while Lila decides she's going to go and sneak around the house and see what she can find.
Bad idea.
Maybe speak to the mother, or whoever it is that people have been seeing. Yeah. Lila's sneaking around this big creepy house, and she gets the fright of her life when she sees her reflection. Great scene. Meanwhile, Norman realises what's going on. He says, "Where's the young woman you checked in with?" And he and Sam have a little bit of a fight. Norman knocks out Sam, and runs up to the house after Lila. Lila hears Norman heading towards the house. She looks for somewhere to hide. There's nowhere. So she sees the stairs to the basement, so she quickly jumps down them and hides. Yeah, Norman heads upstairs. Once she's down the basement, she finds Mrs. Bates, Norman's mother. Yeah, who is a skeleton with a leg on. A skeleton, a decomposed corpse. It's the dead body of Norman's mother. What a weirdo. While Lila's trying to process this shock, Norman appears behind her in the doorway. Yeah, and now he's wearing a wig. Yeah, he's wearing a wig and a frock. He's dressed up as his mother, and he's holding a knife, and he's going to kill her. Yeah, he's just about to kill her. And then San appears and manages to get in the chokehold, and Norman just passes out, I guess. Yeah. And as he's passing out, he's ripping open his dress to reveal that he's wearing a shirt, and his wig falls off to reveal it's Norman. But we already knew that. Yeah. Just in case you didn't notice. Yeah. I guess they didn't have HD back then, so maybe it was a case of you didn't really know what was going on for a little second. After this, we cut to a police station where a psychological evaluator has been speaking to Norman, and he says Norman no longer exists. Norman, for the longest time, has been half Norman and half his mother. Yeah, and now he's all another. He's a psycho. It's a good little scene. It's well scripted. It clears everything up in the audience's mind as to what's happened, why Norman's the way he is, how Norman's the way he is. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And then a young police officer comes in and says, he's asking for a blanket. Can I give him a blanket? And they say, yeah, give Norman a blanket, or, you know, mother a blanket. So they pass Norman a blanket, and you hear the reply saying, thank you, in a woman's voice. Yep, because he's another now. He is. And the very last thing we see in the movie is Norman Bates, even though he thinks he's another, and we hear his internal monologue, and he's saying, oh, they'll see I'm just a sweet old lady. And you hear his thoughts saying, I won't even swat that fly. They'll think, look, isn't she sweet? She wouldn't even hurt a fly. And then he grins at the camera like a creep. And that's Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Well, that was great. You liked it? Yeah. I thought it was going to be old fuddy-duddy stuff that is really good. As a classic movie, if you haven't seen Psycho before, I would give it a go. Obviously, if you watch this recap, I'm hoping you've seen it before now, because otherwise it's all ruined for you. Sorry, should have watched it 50 years ago. So hit like, hit subscribe, I'll see you next time. What's that? That's the music. Bye.